Hello and welcome to round 14th edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show, powered by Talking Rugby Union. And on this week's show, we'll be looking forward to a feast of festive derbies as we preview the final round of fixtures for 2024. And it's remarkable, really, how quickly this year has gone from a National League Rugby perspective. And we really wanted to thank all the support and efforts of the coaches, players, club staff, photographers, media personnel and the supporters themselves up and down the country who collectively continue to add to the value of National 1 and National 2 week in, week out, come rain or shine. So we thank you all for everything you do to make levels 3 and 4 so enjoyable to be a part of. And if you do like what we do from a National League Rugby media side of things, do give the subscribe button a click on our YouTube channel and do continue to share and like all of our content on YouTube as well as across our social media channels. And just on YouTube, we're actually closing in on 3,000 subscribers. So you know what to do. If you haven't done it already, it makes sense to hit the subscribe button. It is free to do and it is nearly Christmas after all. We really appreciate that support as we edge closer to the 3,000 subscriber milestone on our YouTube channel. Before we get stuck into round 14, a big thanks to both Darlington Moden Park and Devonport Services for their time last week on the National League Rugby Preview Show. Really do appreciate their support with round 13's episode. But on to round 14, where our focus is on two title candidates, one in National 2 North and one in National 2 West, starting in the North and starting with Leeds Tykes, who are once again firmly in the mix towards the right end of the table after last year's titanic tussle with Rotherham Titans. As things stand, the Tykes sit second in National 2 North and a level on points with leaders Sheffield and third place Lynn. So it tells you all you need to know about how unbelievably poised National 2 North is as we begin the second half of the season this weekend. Leeds host Otley on Friday night, but with a special twist this week as a game is taking place at Headingley, the spiritual home of Leeds Tykes. And Leeds kindly invited us down to Headingley earlier in the week to preview what should be a cracking Yorkshire derby between Leeds Tykes and Otley. We also caught up with National 2 West table toppers Camborne, who are involved in one of the biggest derby fixtures across National League Rugby this weekend when they entertain Redruth. A brilliant crowd of 2,800 were in attendance for the reverse fixture between these two sides at Redruth back in September, and we expect a huge turnout at the Recreation Ground on Saturday as these two famous old foes are ready to write the latest chapter in their rivalry. So we chatted to Chairman Andy Gill and Director of Rugby Steve Larkins to preview that game, as well as discuss Camborne's journey in National 2 West over the last 18 months or so. But before all of that, let's get into National 1. And it was an engrossing round 13 in National 1 with the highest margin of victory being just 8 points. And it was Chidera Obona's last-minute try, which gave leaders Richmond a narrow but superb 31-29 victory over third-placed Rotherham Titans. A huge carry by the highly rated Lucas Schmid, with Obona finishing off his 7th try of the season. And how big could that moment be and that result be in the dynamic of the National 1 title race? And before the win against Rams at the start of the month at Old Bath Road, Richmond boss Rob Powell spoke about the team harmony and the team cohesion they've been building this season. And didn't they show, Richmond, didn't they show character to dig deep to maintain their unbeaten record, which now stands at 12 wins and 1 draw. That sole draw coming in round 6 away at Dings Crusaders. But what a start to the season, if you can call it a start now. What a first half of the season, should we say, for Richmond. And it's been an ideal December for them as well. And Richmond have now opened up a 6-point gap at the top of National 1 after second place Rams were beaten 27-26 by fourth placed Rosalind Park at the Rock. Park had built a 24-14 advantage, but Rams responded to lead by 2 points with 5 minutes to go, but a sweetly struck penalty from Roslyn Park's Josh Bragman ensured that it was Park who came away with a victory in a 5th straight home win for Kieran Power's side, but it is now 3 successive defeats for Rams against 3 of their fellow top 4 counterparts. So really difficult few weeks for Rams in terms of their title aspirations. But Seb Reynolds still remained upbeat. Seb, of course, the boss at Rams. He still remained upbeat following that defeat to Roslyn Park. He tried to take the positives in terms of the squad really pulling together despite some of their key players missing and how the results have gone. So that is the state of play towards the top of National 1. Towards the bottom, Darlington, Moden Park and Sedgley Park played out another tight affair. Bottom club DMP clawed back Sedge on a couple of occasions at the Darlington Arena, and it was the boot ultimately of Josh Ree, which sealed a 37-all draw for Darlington, Moden Park. Both Josh and opposite number Warren Seals did have chances to win it for their respective sides, but both missed penalties late on. So it was 3 points shared for Darlington, Moden Park and Sedgley Park. So what it means for the league standings towards the bottom of the table to begin with is that DMP halted their run of 3 straight defeats and are now 9 points behind their nearest side, Esher. And in fact, all of the bottom 4 sides collected points in round 13, while confirmation that Richmond have increased their advantage at the top to 6 points, with Roslyn Park just edging closer to both Rams and Rotherham. You may also notice that Birmingham, Moseley and Sale FC are sat on 11 and 12 games played respectively, because their round 13 meeting was actually abandoned after an hour due to a power surge which caused the floodlights to fail at Hayward Road. Sale were leading 30-25 in what was a decent contest in the northwest, but confirmation on Wednesday evening that the game will now be replayed on February the 22nd, 2025, after that floodlight failure last Saturday. So on to the final fixtures of the calendar year then in the 3rd tier. The action begins on Friday night with Rams hosting Esher at Old Bath Road. Of course, Rams will want to sign off before Christmas with a response and a victory, while Esher come into this one off the back of a proper battle against Plymouth Albion. The E's fighting hard to secure 2 points in a 34-31 loss last time out. On to Saturday's games then, and it's the last home game of the year for Birmingham Moseley, who've had to deal with a bit of disruption, haven't they, in the last few weeks, with a couple of postponements and the abandonment last week of their game against Sale FC. So Adam Balding's side will be keen to end 2024 with a win in the Midlands Derby against 12th placed Leicester Lions. The Lions themselves lost away to 5th place Blackheath 22-19 in round 13, and Blackheath are back at home this weekend, where they'll be looking to extend their winning run at the Utilita to 7 matches against Bishop Stortford on Saturday. 6th place Plymouth Albion welcomed Dings Crusaders to Brickfields. Dings once again getting a result at home last time out. Their 39-31 victory over Bishop Stortford extend their unbeaten run to 4 matches at Shaftesbury Park, but now can they get something on the road? Maybe the pick of the games on this festive weekend, the National 1 is Richmond hosting near neighbours Roslyn Park at the Rag. There'll be no early Christmas gifts passed between these two, that is for sure, especially with the way Richmond won the reverse fixture in round 2 with Lewis Dennett's dramatic late drop goal, snatching a 21-19 win for the table toppers. But can Roslyn Park spoil Richmond's unbeaten run in this local derby? That should be a really cracking game in the capital on Saturday. And elsewhere in National 1, Rotherham Titans welcome Darlington Moden Park to Clifton Lane, while it's the Manchester derby with Sedgley Park doing battle with Sale FC at Park Lane. On to National 2 North now, where it was another big home result for Sheffield Tigers in round 13. Boss Jack Howison saying at the weekend that his side are now roaring again after back-to-back successes at Dormoor, this time beating bottom of the table Billingham 32-12. All four of Sheffield Tigers' tries came in the second period, and the bonus point victory for them has lifted them to 11th in the standings, and they are also now 4 points clear of the bottom two. As for Billingham, their difficult run of form continues. It is now no win in 6 for the North East side. At the other end of the standings, there was no mistakes made at all by the leading title candidates. Table toppers Sheffield came away from a difficult place to go in Chester with a 43-31 victory at Hare Lane. 3 tries in the final quarter for Anthony Poser's side, helping him to a 12th win of the campaign. In second place, Leeds Tykes, and third place, Lim, followed suit in terms of collecting bonus point victories in round 13. Leeds Tykes general manager and current player Jake Brady celebrated his 100th game for the club with a 47-22 win against Harrogate, whilst Lim had to score 2 tries in the final 5 minutes to see off the challenger Preston Grasshoppers and secure a 42-29 victory in the Northwest. Preston actually led on 3 occasions in this game, but Lim responded to 2 yellow cards to return to winning ways, and it was a really good result for Adam Fletcher and Andy Davis's side. So what it means then for the current standings in National 2 North is we can show you just how tight it is at the summit. The top 3 all remain level on points, with Sheffield holding a plus 14 points difference over Leeds Tykes. So it really is fine margins between the top 3 sides at the moment as we go into the second half of the season. At the bottom, Billingham are currently 6 points adrift, but do have a game in hand. Harrogate stay in the bottom 2, despite picking up a bonus point against Leeds Tykes last time out. And speaking of Leeds Tykes, they play an integral part in one of 2 National 2 North games, which are taking place on Friday night, and Leeds Tykes face Otley in their annual fixture at Headingley Stadium. And those who are of a Leeds Tykes persuasion will of course know that Headingley really is the spiritual home of the club, and Leeds Tykes will be marking their Christmas fixture by hosting neighbours Otley at Headingley on Friday night. And the lovely people at Leeds Tykes invited us over to Headingley earlier on this week to catch up with Director of Rugby Pete Seaborn, Head Coach Pete Lucock, and General Manager Jake Brady to build up to Friday night, but of course talk about yet another title race which Leeds Tykes are currently embroiled in. First of all, Pete, thanks for having us down at Headingley today to look ahead to the big game on Friday night against Otley in National 2 North. But as we sit here, one more game to go before Christmas, going into the second half of the season. Is this where you wanted Leeds Tykes to be at this stage of the season?
Obviously after the season we had last year, we needed to kick on, and promotion isn't our goal to start with. Our goal is to be safe and stay up, and hopefully if we pick 5 points up in the next 2-3 weeks, then that's first job done. Then after that, we reassess and see where we need to be. Obviously, yes, we are looking to get promoted, but as the league's shown last year and then again this year, that it's a tough league to get out of. There was Sells and Rotherham last year. This year there's, I know there's a Sells, Lim and Sheffield at the top, but then you've got Fylde and Wharfdale banging on the door as well. And in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's just shown that every game that we play, and not only Leeds Tykes but across the board in the leagues, you can't now judge who's going to beat who, because it's that tight a league and teams are working each other out after the first few weeks of the season. So yeah, it's a tough league. It's an exciting league, and hopefully come the end of the season, hopefully we might be where we want to be.
I think we've got a lot of development to do with as a squad. I think as a matchday squad, we've had loads of change, and I think that's a lot of what we've put into this season so far. We've had to rely on a lot of bodies, and to get them all up to the level and be in the position we're now, I think that's a testament to all the lads.
We looked last year and looked at his failings. I know we dropped 9 points in the end, but looked at his failings at where we needed to be. And I worked out that we needed a bigger squad and more strength in depth, which is what we've got. And there's been a fairly big overhaul from within. So obviously Mike Aspinall stepped down as head coach, and then we brought, plan was for Pete Lucock to come in as player coach last year and then take over as head coach, which he's done remarkably well. And he's stuck to it like a duck to water. and then on the playing front as well, we brought 15 new players in that needed to be able to adjust to the pace of the game, the physicality of the game in this league. And then as players have settled down and found a level, it's now, can we kick on and get that playing level higher and higher, because we try to push the bar each week.
My ambition is to get the club up the levels. I'm not afraid of saying that, because that's where I think it deserves to be. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do. We're getting loads of support from behind the scenes, and I'm quite happy to take some of that on my shoulders. The club needs to be higher, and I want it to be higher. So that's where I see it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just onto the picture in National 2 North at the moment, obviously you're right up there again, but with Sheffield and Lim all on 60 points, all on 12 wins. For a neutral, for us in the media, it's really, really nicely poised. But how much do you take from the learnings of last season going into the second half of this year?
I think we'll take loads from it. Like we were there nearly every week of the season with Rotherham. Look, if we didn't learn anything from last season, we'd be stupid. We didn't do everything right. It didn't play out our way. But I think a lot of the hurt, a lot of the feelings, and there's a lot of boys who want to put it right. And I think that puts us in a better stead already. But we need to action that as well. It's all right saying, "Oh, we want to do better." I think there's a lot of action that needs putting in the second half of the season as well. In the off-season and in the pre-season, the boys came back in the right way. Everyone had the bit between the teeth. Everyone came back in the right way. And like we said, we've probably had to develop a lot more as a team, and we've had to rely on a lot of bodies. But I think that's testament to where we are in the league.
You obviously embroiled in another really big battle at the top of the table already this season. Obviously, it was you and Rotherham last year. 3 this year with Sheffield and Lim. In a weird way, do you kind of relish? I know you'd like to probably wrap up early and it not be too much of a challenge, but do you kind of relish this battle? Does it make it every game such an important fixture every single time you turn up on a Friday or Saturday?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's why we're in sport, isn't it? Not you step on the pitch, you don't know the result. It could go either way, and it's the same. It's the same with the situation we're in now. It's much more exciting to be a part of something where there is a real battle. You've got to perform. You've got to give your best every week, and if you don't, somebody's going to nip above you in the league, or 2 people are going to nip above you in the league. So it's going to bring out the best in us. It's going to bring out the best in Sheffield, and it's going to bring out the best in Lim. And then at the end of the day, the best team will win and win the league, deservedly so. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's much more exciting than just romping home the league and being 10 points clear at Christmas. Nobody really wants that. The players don't want the supporters. Everyone wants to come to a game and pay to watch something that it's really important who wins this.
I'll just straight back because I'm not interested in what other teams are doing. It's week by week, and Otley's the test on Friday night as it was Harrogate last week, because isn't where we are within Yorkshire. Where the big club in the big city, and teams want to knock us off as perks, like I said. So it's Otley's the main focus of the weekend. Then we'd reset after Christmas, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm straight back in that one back. We're on a journey. It's a long one to get back to where the club needs to be, and as a club and as a city. Obviously, we've got the Rhinos. You've got Leeds United. You've got Leeds Knights. You've got Leeds Rhinos netball, and the 2 universities. Everything's striving, and now hopefully it's our turn to kick on and make the city proud of us.
Yeah, we've made a start. I don't think we're anywhere near the end of our journey, at Leeds Tykes journey, where we need to be, but we definitely made a start. The negative press has gone away now, disappeared. It's mostly positive. Looking at the club in a good light, the positive stuff we're doing, where we are in the league, the development of the squad and the coaching team. So yeah, we've definitely turned the corner in that, but there's a long way to go. I'm sure the other 2 peaks have said, but we're not happy with where we are yet. We want to push further and we want to go further.
This is, of course, a club so close to your heart. I was reading an interview you did in the rugby paper, I think it was back in October, saying you used to obviously come here and watch Leeds play. So how much are you kind of looking forward to Friday night, and obviously been part of it with Leeds Tykes?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the highlights of the season. Every time I walk in here, even just now to talk to you, it's unbelievable. I really get the chance to play here. The facility is amazing, and you walk through that Howard Street up there, and the cricket pitch is on the other side. Yeah, we're lucky. The city of Leeds is really lucky to have a stadium like this, and Leeds Tykes, the rugby union club in the city, is really lucky to be able to play here, even if it's still one game a season at the moment. Yeah, to get the chance to play is amazing.
Like every time you come to a facility like this, and like you said, it's got such fond memories of myself. Although it's had a bit of a glow up since the days I was playing. I've had so many memories actually out on the field as well, and a lot of memories in the changing rooms after some big wins with a lot of good people and a lot of people that I hold high in my life. So yeah, look, it means a lot, and hopefully the boys playing on Friday, it means a lot to them as well, stepping out on the field.
It's going to be a massive occasion. It's going to feel special here under the lights on a Friday night, rugby union at Headingley Stadium. It's going to be brilliant. Leeds Tykes we're going to bring our best game. I'm sure Otley will as well. They won't be turning up here to roll over, that's for sure. So yeah, it's going to be, I'm sure there'll be hotly contested. There'll be a bit of spice in there, a little bit of niggle, but also some great rugby played. We're not shy about wanting to use the ball and play from anywhere on the pitch. And the way Otley have been going for the last few weeks, they look like they're doing the same, playing from everywhere. Even some exciting stuff. So I think it's going to be a fantastic game of rugby to watch as well.
So a massive thanks to Leeds Tykes for inviting us down to Headingley earlier in the week. Of course, Leeds Tykes are one of our feature clubs on the National League Rugby preview show this week. And when I was walking up to the ground, you do get a sense of the history which is attached to the rugby stadium, both from a rugby union and rugby league perspective. And for those who don't know, the cricket ground is actually connected to the rugby stadium as well. So it was really an impressive complex at Headingley, and for all those sport lovers, I definitely encourage you to check it out if you get the chance. And why not do that this Friday night with Leeds Tykes hosting Otley under the lights at Headingley for what should be a belting Yorkshire derby. Now, I know the wonderful media team at Leeds Tykes of Angela, Susie, Ben, and I know a few other people will probably chip in as well, are working incredibly hard to promote the game on Friday night, and all the details around the game, including how to buy a ticket, will be on Leeds Tykes' website. A link also to that will be in the description of the show, and I know Leeds Tykes are pushing that link across their social media channels as well. They're expecting a really, really strong crowd at Headingley, and it feels like the ideal way, if you're finishing for Christmas, to kick off your festivities by heading down to Headingley and taking in a Yorkshire derby. Just on Otley, by the way, who will be playing Leeds on Friday night. 3 tries in the final 12 minutes for them, clinched a 36-35 victory over Hull Ionians in round 13. Scrum half Sam Connor scored a hat-trick, and it also meant that he won National 2 North's Player of the Week. So that just gives you a little bit of a snapshot, doesn't it, of the talent that should be on show at Headingley on Friday night. So Leeds Tykes versus Otley is one of the fixtures which takes place on Friday, and there is also another significant local rivalry to get stuck into between Sheffield and Sheffield Tigers at Aberdale Park. The Tigers come into this one with a spring in their step, don't they? Well, Sheffield know they could be top of the tree at Christmas, so 2 brilliant games to kick things off with in National 2 North. On to Saturday, where we'll jump to the middle of the list, where Lim are back on their own patch to face Chester. Lim will, of course, know the Sheffield and Leeds results by the time they kick off in Cheshire, so it will add to the occasion at Crouchy Lane on Saturday. Elsewhere, a North East derby sees Billingham host Tyndale, a 19-all draw back in round 2 between these two clubs, but the sides have headed in different directions since then. Billingham will be desperate to give the Greenwood Road faithful an early Christmas gift, while Tyndale come into this one unbeaten in 5 after securing their first home win of the season last time out, and Will Roberts' hat-trick helping them to a 38-17 success over Hull, with Tyndale now into the top half of the table. 2 more brilliant derby matchups now, with Hull Ionians hosting Hull at Brantington Park, while Fylde go to Preston Grasshoppers for the latest instalment of the Lancashire rivalry off the back of a phenomenal comeback win against Wharfdale in round 13. They were 22-0 down at half-time, Fylde. They fought back to lead 28-22. They then fell behind again, only for Patrick Bishop's late penalty to seal a 31-30 win in front of another plus 1,000 crowd at Woodlands. And it should be another great atmosphere and another healthy crowd at Preston Grasshoppers' Lightfoot Green on Saturday, when Preston and Fylde collide. And to round things off, another Yorkshire derby with Wharfdale and Harrogate meeting at the Avenue. And we move into National 2 East now, where you can see I am joined by a special guest this week in the form of Barnes Director of Rugby and Head Coach Jack Heel. Jack, thanks so much for coming on the show this week.
No, you're welcome. It's good to be here.
So obviously you would have seen in the intro that Barnes aren't one of our feature clubs this week on the show, but Jack is very keen to help us explain the National 2 East picture a little bit more. It is one of the most competitive leagues across National 1 and National 2, and now we're at the halfway point of the season. It feels like a great time to get Jack's input. And Jack, to be honest, we'll probably start with your club, Barnes, really, because you're right up there once again at the halfway point of the season. 4 wins in a row now after your victory over Henley last time out, that 32-22 victory. I think it was 4 tries in sort of 14, 15 minutes during the first half. So we know it's never an easy place to go. It hasn't been an easy place to go this season. So you must be delighted with the outcome from last weekend.
Yeah, it's been the first time in 4 years that we've won at Henley. They've got a good record there this year. I think before they lost to Tunbridge the week before we played them, their record was 5 or 6 in a row. So we knew that they were going to react to their defeat over in Tunbridge, which they did, and they threw a few barrels at us. So we were really happy going there and picking up 5 points, which was important for us building into the Christmas break, really.
And that win for Barnes actually lifted Jack's side into second spot in the table after table rivals Dorking lost 35-34 at home to Canterbury. A very, very good win for Canterbury, who ended Dorking's 10-match winning run, but it may have been different. I know Dorking scored 3 times pretty late on to really set up a tense finish, but Max Coyle's try in the 80th minute wasn't converted, and it meant that Canterbury clinched this tight affair. A really good win at that for the City men. And Barnes, as we said, right at the top, Jack, are right in the mix again for, I think it's maybe two or 3 seasons now in a row. And we touched on Dorking there, we touched on Canterbury as well, and you mentioned Tunbridge and Henley in your first answer. Just how competitive is National 2 East now, and how competitive has it become over the last sort of 2 seasons or so?
Yeah, like we've mentioned, you see, we've been relatively consistent for the last few years. Like, people forget that this is a bit of a rebuilding year for us. We've got a lot of new players in after losing a core last summer due to retirement, and we're really happy where we're at. From the competitiveness, of the squad and the league, it's proving now when you see the results, like Sevenoaks having a really good result against Guernsey on the weekend. You mentioned the Canterbury result over Dorking, which was a very good result for them. Dorking are pushing, as you know, like that they're coming to us this weekend, and then you got Western Park with good wins of them. So there's a long way to go. Yeah, we've played 50% of the games, but like there's a few twists or turns to take yet. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, Jack could have literally rattled off all 14 teams there in National 2 East, given the competitiveness of it. And as Jack quite rightly highlights, it was really competitive towards the other end of the table as well in round 13 with Colchester and Havant drawing 31 all at Raven Park. I think there was 3 points apiece going to both sides, but Colchester may have rued their indiscipline a little bit because Havant scored 12 points in the final 6 minutes to continue what has been quite a roller coaster first half of the season for the newly promoted side. But it just shows again how competitive the league is at the moment, and what that all means for the table is that Colchester moved off the bottom of the league with those 3 points they earned against Havant, with Worthing falling to the foot of the division after they were beaten 68-19 by Western Park. Sevenoaks, as Jack quite rightly mentioned, beat Guernsey Raiders at the weekend, a 3rd win on the bounce now for Adam Bowman's side, and they were clinical and showed their defensive strength to see off the Raiders 24-16. And at the top, as we've already touched on, Barnes are very much in the mix with your likes of Tunbridge Julians, who produced a very classy display to see off Oxford Harlequins, scoring 6 tries in the opening 40 minutes as they won 54-36 away from home, while Barnes and Dorking are level on points with Dorking having a game in hand. But that closeness, Jack, between yourselves and Dorking isn't kind of a standout point, really. You seem to have some fantastic battles over the last couple of seasons in terms of league position, but also on the pitch as well. I think I was doing a bit of research on the train at home yesterday, and the last 5 meetings between you two have probably averaged a winning margin of just over 3 points. So what is it about these games, Jack, that seems to bring out this extra level of competitiveness between Barnes and Dorking?
Yeah, well, for us, it's a semi-local rivalry. We're not on each other's doorsteps, but we're not, we're 45 minutes away from each other. So they're really competitive games between two Surrey clubs, essentially. Like you said, we played 5 times in the last 2 and a bit seasons. This will be the 6th one, and every game goes down to the final whistle, and that literally to the final whistle. Yeah, I don't know. As a coach, it's nerve-wracking, and you rack your brains, and I'm sure Arm and Rue over at Dorking will be doing the same thing. Each time we play each other, it's like, how does it come down to the final play each game? I'm just hoping it's not the same this week. I'd love kind of an 8-point buffer in the last couple of minutes. It'll be lovely. It'll settle the nerves a little bit. But, we got 2 very, very competitive teams with, contrasting styles of rugby, I would say. So it's going to be another nail biter for sure.
Yeah, and for those who haven't looked at the National 2 East fixtures before tuning into this section of the show, you may have guessed the fact that me and Jack are talking about Barnes and Dorking is the fact that Barnes and Dorking do play each other in round 14. Before we just we'll bring up the list of fixtures now in front of us. Jack, other than your game, is there any other fixtures that stand out for you on this Christmas weekend?
Yeah, I think the big one, apart from our games, probably Canterbury Sevenoaks down in Kent. Both off big wins last week. You're looking at what Matt Corker's done down at Canterbury. They're a much stronger outfit this year than where they've been a year or 2 ago. And obviously they're coming off a very good win last week. I'm sure Matt will have those boys fully charged and ready to go for Saturday. So I know that's their local derby pretty much, apart from the Western Park Sevenoaks game. That it should be a good one down there. So that'll be one that I won't be a betting man either way on that game, if I was honest.
You're quite right to highlight that game. Canterbury coming off that win against Dorking. It's now 4 wins in the last 5 or 5 wins in the last 6 for Canterbury Sevenoaks. 3 wins in a row for them. So they'll be flying into Derby Day in Kent. Just to wrap up the rest of the fixtures, then for round 14, Bury St Edmunds take on Henley as 6th place goes to 8th. Bury playing back-to-back home wins last time out against Old Albanian, with Henley Hawks looking to bounce back from that defeat to Jack Barnes last time out. Worthing visit 9th place Tavern. This developing Worthing side had a very tough afternoon in round 13 at Westcombe Park, and it might not get any easy for them at Havant on Saturday. As I mentioned before, it has been a roller coaster first half of the season for newly promoted Havant, but they seem to be enjoying the ride at the moment, and it'll be a cracking atmosphere at Hucks Lane on Saturday afternoon. 2 sides who would love some early Christmas cheer will meet at Woolham's as Old Albanian host Oxford Harlequins. No win in 7 for OAs, although they have been on the end of some very tight losses in recent weeks, while Oxford Harlequins are just beginning to peer over their shoulders after 4 straight defeats. League leaders Tunbridge Julians will be Christmas #1 regardless of the outcome against Colchester, but the Slade will be rocking on Saturday as they hope for a 13th win of the season for the table toppers. And as Jack mentioned before, Guernsey Raiders, who lost to Sevenoaks, they'll be looking to full reaction and a bounce back this week when they take on Westcombe Park, who will be hoping for a full house of victories after 2 wins so far in December. And we finish in National 2 West, where there was an important result towards the bottom of the table in round 13 for 13th placed Macclesfield, where home form is proving to be key for Matt Coleridge's side as they secured a 28-24 victory over Hornets at Priory Park. It's their 3rd home win of the season for Mac, who didn't make it easy for themselves at times, but it does keep them in touch with the sides above them. So another important home outing and a home victory for the Blues. At the other end of the standings, all of the current top 6 sides picked up bonus point wins in round 13, and it was a really, really professional showing from league leaders Camborne, who scored 10 tries to defeat bottom club Devonport Services 77 away from home. Just check out this pass from Josh Matavesi to set up Alex Ducker for their 8th try of the afternoon. A brilliant carry initially from Jordan Nichols as well. And also hooker Ben Priddy helped himself to 5 tries for Steve Larkins' side. So a really strong showing from Camborne at Devonport Services last weekend. Elsewhere, Clifton made it 7 wins in a row as they produced a very assured display to defeat Bourneville. They scored 8 tries to secure a 54-14 victory, while there were also wins of, as we said before, for the rest of the top 6, which include Taunton, Cinderford, Luctonians and Redroof, with Redroof actually moving into the top half of the table after their 31-24 success against Loughborough Students, as you can see there. Camborne's lead at the summit remains 4 points, with 6 points separating the top 4, albeit there are still a couple of games in hand to be played. At the bottom, Macclesfield have edged closer to Exeter University, who were beaten 37-17 by Cinderford, with the gap now down to 3 points, but Exeter also do have a game in hand to come in the new year. But back to the top of the table, back to the summit of the table, where Camborne are currently top of the tree, and they are our 2nd feature club on the National League Rugby preview show this week, and for good reason, as they build up to one of the biggest derbies across National League Rugby this weekend when they welcome Redruth to the recreation ground. Now, 2,800 people attended the reverse fixture at Redruth in round 2, where Camborne came away with a 43-35 win, thanks to a blistering first half display from Steve Larkins' side, and they haven't really looked back since then, have they, Camborne? As we said just before, they are 4 points clear at the top with a game in hand, and they've suffered just 2 defeats so far this season. But both on and off the field, Camborne, who were promoted back into National League Rugby at the start of last season after over 2 decades away from this level, seem to be in a very, very good place right now. So ahead of this huge game against Redroof, ahead of this huge rivalry, we caught up with Chairman Andy Gill, as well as Director of Rugby Steve Larkins, to talk about Camborne's journey.
Yeah, I think we're pretty happy the situation we're in at the moment. Maybe at the start of the year we didn't expect to be the halfway period and be top of the league, but the signings that I made over the summer, I felt like we could definitely be up there and in that top 3. We've got some quality players now. We've got some quality coaches in Tom Kessel and Chris Fuka and Josh Matavesi, who's now taken the helm as a defensive coach. So I think it's the club has gone forward on and off the pitch, and to be top of the league going into Christmas, it's pretty pleasing, and it's an exciting place to be at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a process, Chris. More than happy with the way we're performing on the field, and that's reflected by the number that are coming through the turnstiles. You know, there's guys who turn up now every other Saturday that I haven't seen for years. So there's a bit more of a feel-good factor about Camborne as a whole, as a town, really.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Andy, because I think it might have been Ian or Martin who said to me that, you know, this season there has been not so many familiar faces coming down. There's been new faces who've been coming down to the ground, new sets of supporters. So as a chair, that must be so pleasing to see. You know, obviously you'd love to see your die-hard fans week in, week out, but to see new supporters going, I want to spend my Saturday afternoon at Camborne, must be a really pleasing thing.
Exactly, and all credit goes to the guys. Really, they're playing a great brand of rugby that people just want to see, and you know, we can sell that quite easily to prospective punters. And the word, it doesn't take long for the word to get around. If you want to see some great rugby, then go down to Camborne and watch some superb stuff. Really,
this season we've had some outstanding games, no more so than last weekend against Devonport, where I think we showed truly what we can do. There were some quality tries, but on top of that, there was some quality defence as well. Somebody asked me the other day, said, "Do you kick many penalties?" And we've kicked 3 all year. So Kyle Moyles kicked 2, and Josh Matavesi kicked 1. So it kind of says our intentions of how we want to play. how we want it to be a brand of rugby, but also it's got to be an entertainment for fans to come through that the turnstiles. As Andy said, if we're getting close to 1,000 people, and hopefully on Saturday could be up to 3,000 or 4,000 people, it shows what a product we've got at the moment, and also as well the excitement of how exciting some of the players we've got. To have people like Josh, Kyle Moyle, Alex Ducker, to name but a few. CJ Boyce, who stepped up from St Austell, and he's been a breath of fresh air. And so we've got these guys along with the people that got us into the league originally. So yeah, exciting times. And as I said there, if we can get more and more people to come to Camborne, it's a pretty cheap day out to watch some internationals and Premiership players, and also to have a beer as well, which is not £8 or £9 a pint.
And just on going back to your point that you said there, Steve, about kind of the players that you've got at Camborne. I know kind of sort of, if I'm right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, sort of in the second half of last season, you were hit by injuries quite heavily, weren't you? And it kind of, after, I think you might have been third around this time last year, it kind of just slipped away a little bit in that second half of the season. So was it key for you to kind of firstly bolster the squad in the summer, but also continue to attract the quality of player that we are seeing week in, week out at Camborne? Because as you rattled off some names there, these guys have got bucket loads of experience, but are choosing Camborne to play the rugby at.
Yeah, last year there was a couple of games, or one in particular, we had 19 unavailabilities due to injury, and that hits any club. It just meant over the summer that, one, I wanted to kind of bolster the squad in terms of quality, and we've seen that with people like Jack, Andrew and Kyle joining us. But also on top of that, 8 or 9 youngsters have joined as well, which it's been crucial to make sure the second team develops. And those boys now are getting a really good chance of National League Rugby with us. And 3 or 4 of them have already made their debut for the first team.
Steve's done a marvellous job. He's got a lot of contacts in the local rugby world, and and he gets. I think he'll be the first to admit that when he went out sort of like looking for players, now players are looking for him, if you see what I mean. It's a bit easier for Steve now to sort of like attract players to Camborne, and it is because I think once players come to us and get the taste and see what we offer as a club, we can build for the future. There's an ethos set as well from the second team, as Steve said, building through. There's a pathway now for players in the second team to play Nat 2 rugby, hopefully Nat 1 next year. But and long may it continue.
We started the ball rolling, 2 or 3 years ago now, and tried to sign kind of a marquee player. And we managed to do that with people like Nico Di Battista, who joined us from Pirates. We won the league that year, and then Josh Matavesi joined us, and then Kyle Moyle, and then we've had Josh Bellamy, a under-20 World Cup winner, joining us. Sam Walker's joined us from Exeter now. So we've had some talented boys coming through, and maybe 3 years ago, if we'd have said you're going to have 3 or 4 ex-Prem players, a couple of champ players, a international playing for Camborne, we may have just said, stop now. You're in kind of dream world. But it's come around. It's a great club on and off the pitch. As Andy said there, the volunteers and how the club moves forward, the sponsorship committee from the board down to the minis, the juniors, the colts, the ladies. It's a great place to be, and I just think that's helpful for not only the club to develop, but the town as well. There's a real buzz around the town now.
Yeah, I was going to kind of come on to the off the pitch report that you've had, Andy, because I was reading kind of Martin's notes that he sent through last week, and I know kind of Tony Chapman has been a big part of that. He's got such a strong affiliation with the club anyway, but I guess that extra sponsorship all goes collectively into what Camborne are trying to achieve both on and off the pitch.
Yeah. Tony's input has been immense, really, and we probably couldn't have done half of what we've done without his assistance financially. But it's nice, Tony. I know Tony. I played with Tony back in the day, and hats off to him, self-made man, and he's willing now to put something back into the club where he learned his rugby.
Messaged me probably 4 or 5 times today already, and we've just arranged because he can't manage to get to the game, so he's now going to have a live link sent to him so we can watch the game live, because otherwise his his brother's normally standing at pitch side with a mobile phone recording the entire game and shouting at him if he misses any of the action. So hopefully he'll have a live link to the game this weekend, so he's not missing anything. He's in France at the moment and he can't make the game, which is a shame, but we know that he'll be in and around the club, and messages and phone calls 2 or 3 times a week. It's good to see that he wants to be kind of hands-on. He wants to know what's going on in the club, but he's also very, very supportive of whatever we do here at Camborne, which is another thing which was pushed us towards the top of the league.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Now, we've talked a lot about kind of the structure, the journey Camborne have been on, but let's get into kind of Saturday's game against Redruth. Now, I have a question for both of you, really, and I asked it to Nigel Hamley when you guys played Redruth back in round 2. Does this week feel any different to a normal week when you are preparing for a game? Do you wake up on Monday morning when that alarm goes off and goes, yeah, it's game week and Redruth are coming to town on Saturday? Does it feel any different for you guys?
I think after we got over the Devonport game, focus kind of turned to the Redruth game. There wasn't a lot of talk about Redruth leading up to the Devonport. We wanted to make sure that we could potentially go up there and lose because they'd beaten Redruth and Loughborough up there. So we focused on that, and then from Sunday, Monday, it did turn to Redruth, and it does feel a little bit different. There's no doubt. People will say, it's just a game, it's just another game, it's another 5 points, but there is a different atmosphere around. It's that there's going to be lots of rivalry. Lots of our players, I played for Redruth as well. Chris Fook has played for Redruth. Lots of our players have, and lots of the Redruth boys have played for Camborne. So we know each other kind of inside out, and we know what a big game it is. Everyone buys into it, that little bit of rivalry. It does go a bit too far sometimes. We know that there's a few keyboard warriors out there that love their little say, but that's part of it, and we know that there'll be a little bit of chat leading up to the game.
Dave Pemberthy, who's president at Redruth, we are of a similar age, and Dave takes great delight in reminding me that he played against me when I made my first team debut for Camborne in a Camborne Redruth derby. So, yeah, I'm not saying what year that was, mate, but that's where we go, and we still have a beer and before the game, but there's still that. There's still your Camborne, I'm Redruth, or your Redruth, I'm Camborne, whichever way it goes. But it's all friendly banter, really. One of our older members used to have a saying that he wouldn't have a red apple in his house because that's the colour of a Redruth shirt. So apocryphal maybe, but it could have been true.
And just finally, guys, a win over Redruth, would that be the best early Christmas present you guys can wish for before the big day itself?
Yeah, I think I'll go on, Andy. You go first.
Well, the long answer is hell yes. Short answer is yes. Yeah. They'll take a win over Redruth any day, Chris. Yeah.
I think all our families would agree with that as well. If we can get a kind of win, we don't want to be like bears with a sore head and real grumpy for the whole of Christmas. And rugby does have a massive effect on not only our lives but our families' lives as well, because everyone has to buy into it. Girlfriends, wives, they're the ones that give up lots as well for enable us to do this, for all the travel we do. And the last thing they want is 20 grumpy blokes hanging around the Christmas table talking about how we didn't win or how we should have played better or whatever. So we know it's a big one. If there's 3,500, 4,000 people, which it could happen on Saturday, then that would be great for National League Rugby, because I think that crowd could be higher than lots of Championship, and even I heard that if we get 4,000, that could be higher than one Premiership game that happened a couple of years ago, which only got 3,700. So we just hope it's going to be a great spectacle, a great advertisement for this league, but more importantly, kind of an advertisement for Camborne, how they can run big events with the volunteers, the players we've got, the committee, and often on the field. It should be a great occasion again, and they never fail to disappoint, these games. We haven't had a poor one yet, and I hope on Saturday it's another beauty.
And a huge thanks to both Andy and Steve for their time this week. So much anticipation ahead of Saturday's meeting with Redruth, and who will be taking that very, very, very short trip down the A30 to face their near neighbours. And just to reiterate as well, tickets for Saturday's game will be available on the gate, and Camborne are maybe hoping for a crowd of over 3,000, maybe even over 3,500. So that would be absolutely phenomenal if they were able to achieve that. So make sure you do get down early to soak up the atmosphere. Steve was telling me apparently the club is setting up 6 different bars, so you're sure to enjoy yourself at the recreation ground on Saturday. And it is also hopefully going to be a brilliant advert for National League Rugby, especially with Camborne sitting top of the pile at the moment and Redruth coming into this weekend on an unbeaten run of 4 games. So let's have a look at the final set of fixtures for 2024 in National 2 West then. And Bourneville host Macclesfield at Avery Fields, with the home side aiming to halt a run of 5 straight defeats. But remember, Mac did win the reverse fixture 31-28 back in round 2. Exeter University will be looking to do something similar to Bourneville as they look to arrest a run of 3 successive losses when they host bottom of the table Devonport Services. It does feel like a really important game for both of those sides, and whichever one can get a victory, it will set them up nicely going in to the new year. The All Midlands Affair sees Loughborough Students go to Hinckley. Hinckley are back at home after their 27-17 loss to second place Taunton last time out, where they showed great fight and determination, and it's something the 11th place side will be hoping to bring to the table again this weekend in front of their home supporters. Speaking of Taunton, they are on the road again, and as they face 9th placed Hornets, who are actually unbeaten in 5 home games, so that won't be a straightforward afternoon for second place Taunton. Third place Cinderford are unbeaten in 5 games themselves, full stop, and that run and their momentum will be put to the test this weekend away at 5th place Luctonians, who stormed to a 40-10 win over Old Redcliffians last time out. And Old Reds themselves welcome 4th place Clifton to Scotland Lane for the Bristol Derby, with the visitors aiming to extend their excellent winning run to 8 matches. So that's it then for this week on the National League Rugby Preview Show. So many big games and so many big derbies to look forward to across National 1 and National 2. And I'm sure wherever you're heading to across Friday and Saturday, or maybe even both, you'll enjoy all of these festive fixtures. Some absolute belting games in there for sure. Please do continue to support us if you can by hitting that subscribe button on YouTube. It is absolutely free to do. And make sure you also share and like all of our content on YouTube, and do exactly the same on our social media channels as well. Do check out our website for all the latest reviews and previews. And as I always say, it is the quickest way to find out all of the results from National 1 and National 2 from a Friday night and a Saturday afternoon. So do check out our website for all of that. Do also check out talkingrugbyunion.co.uk. They are massive supporters of National League Rugby and massive supporters of what we do within the National League Rugby media team as well. So do check out talkingrugbyunion.co.uk if you get a chance. But that is it for this week on the National League Rugby Preview Show, and that is it from us in 2024 as well. We will be back on January 9th for the first show of the new year, building up to round 15. But we just wanted to take this moment to say thank you to everybody for their support of National League Rugby throughout 2024 and over the last 12 months. And we wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.